Okay, hello, Punk Vacation listeners. Welcome back to 15 Minutes with You, the segment where, on a semi monthly basis, I go through all of the newest releases from Melusine and their affiliated partner labels. As you can hear, my cat Bigwig is joining us today. Um, so, we're a little bit behind due to a combination of uh, me being slow and Vinegar Syndrome's shipping being slow. And because I'm not a subscriber anymore, that continues to be the case. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through the three titles that were released in the month of January 2025, and then I'm hoping to get my segment for February done by the mid-month episode that Chris will put out. And then on the first episode of May, I'll have the March titles done, and then we'll be current because the way that announcements and shipping work, we're like a month behind anyway. So I'll have the April titles ready to go then. So the titles that we'll be covering today are the Image 4K release from Melusine, the Ribbled Tales of Canterbury and Tasty double feature from Picorama, and the Neon Nights Blu-ray from Command Cinema. So let's start with The Image. This is a film by Radley Metzger, and it is essentially a film about a pretty severe sort of sadomasochistic kind of dom-sub relationship between a couple and their female sort of plaything. I guess you could consider them a throuple, though it's not entirely clear. This film is very low on plot, but it is very high on vibes, aesthetics, eroticism, and kinky freak shit. So I was a big fan of this one. It is based upon a classy French novel, so it has that kind of bona fides to it. And I don't know, it's just really filled with really beautiful, sumptuous cinematography, really excellent set design. Um, and I don't know, it's just like you're either into this or you're not, and it seems to go a little far to the extent that it's not 100% clear that this is entirely consensual, but I choose to read it as that it is, and I think that um, is bared out in the text of the film. So, like I said, there's not really much in the way of plot to discuss here. It's really just, I think, among the more famous and acclaimed adult films ever made, just because of how beautifully shot it is and how clearly well thought out all of the blocking and cinematography and editing and set creation is on everything. There's no special features on the disc, unfortunately, other than an excellent booklet shot, or I'm sorry, written by our friend Ashley West of the Rialto Report. He gives a really fascinating, in-depth history. It's about 50 pages long about the making of the film. Um, and he starts off with some anecdotes about Roy Cohn, the infamous piece of shit lawyer who represented Donald Trump to help him get away with racist housing practices. You will be familiar with Roy Cohn and his, let's call them antics, if you saw the recent film The Apprentice, which I actually highly recommend. But I swear to God, we try to emphasize that the stories behind these films are just completely insane, and I think that this might take the cake. Um, the writer and creator of Chicago, the original Broadway play, was apparently in contact with Roy Cohn and managed to book his personal home slash law firm that he operated out of, such that Radley Metzger and crew could shoot their film at Roy Cohn's house. And it was a big public scandal, and he tried to deny that it had ever happened, and he threatened to like ruin their lives if the film came out and everything. But I don't know. I wouldn't have guessed in a million years that this was shot at Roy Cohn's house. Um, Not just because it's a adult film, but I mean it's also a particularly depraved one. Like it's pretty much wall to wall um dom sub scenes, girls pissing, lesbianism, threesomes, the whole nine yards. And I really like it. I highly recommend it. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. The transfer looks beautiful. I don't think I have a list on my Letterboxd of all the 4K discs that I watch, and I give them a rating for their visual presentation. And I don't think I've given a single Melusine release anything less than a 10, and this was no exception. So definitely check this out if you're into the freakier stuff or if you're just really into gorgeous lighting and cinematography. Next up is, let's go with the Picorama release. Two films directed by Bud Lee and starring Hyapatia Lee, the um, quarter Native American adult actress slash dancer slash singer. Um, in addition to the, I guess, I mean, honestly, plentiful bonus features on this disc, I also pulled up the Rialto Report interview with Hyapatia Lee, and it's got to be one of my favorite episodes that they've done. And she has got to be one of my new favorite people in this space. Her story is just really harrowing, but also like inspiring, and she's just such a cool person. And I don't know, I love her. She's like up there with Annie Sprinkle now in like my list of favorite adult actresses. But the Ribald Tales of Canterbury essentially is just the Canterbury Tales, but a pornographic adaptation. Hypatia Lee actually co-wrote the script, or I think entirely wrote the script on this one. It's one of the more bigger budget productions of this era of filmmaking. I think they said it was like $300,000 or something like that was the budget for this. So you definitely have like period costumes, sets, etc. And the Canterbury Tales is in and of itself kind of, well, I guess we're two for two in sort of like classy source material, but it is in and of itself sort of a um, crass, perverted text. So it lends itself well to adaptation in this medium. And I know Bud Lee even said like there was, and Hypatia Lee too said like there's stuff in there that we didn't want to put in our porn film, like we thought went too far. Uh, so the film itself is okay. It's fine. Like it gets the job done, and it's an interesting watch just for the classy literary adaptation and for the period specific elements of it. Um, but I think I prefer the B feature. Tasty. This is a film about a failing radio station called KNUT, and Hypatia Lee kind of has the morning show, and then there's there's just different people running different programs, and essentially they're too busy fucking each other or whatever, and their ratings are plummeting, and they have an ultimatum to get their ratings up by the end of the week, or the station is lost forever, going under and all that. So they decide, fuck it, why not? Fuck the FCC, let's just do sex programming the whole time. And so they're like reading dirty stories and having sex, and I guess the listeners at home get to listen to that as opposed to watch it. There's a really weird sequence where I guess they simultaneously broadcast one of Hypatia's, I forget her character. Oh, her name is Tasty Tastums, I think, or something silly like that. She is also a singer, and so they simulcast one of her music videos, which is a kind of shoddy parody of "Hit Me with Your Best Shot," and it's called "Hit Me with Your Wet Shot." Yeah, not doing their best. That sequence is a little bit painful and lasts for a while. Um, but other than that, I think that this film is very funny and charming and enjoyable to watch. Between the two features, I'd say that this is a worthwhile release, and there's actually a really excellent commentary with Joe Rubin and Bud Lee on the Ribald's Tales of Canterbury feature, and it's actually quite insightful. He gives a lot of insight into what it was like working on these sets, his approach to filmmaking, what it's like working in this industry now, and by now I mean over 10 years ago when the commentary was shot versus then in the 1980s. He gets into his relationship with Hypatia, so it's interesting to hear both perspectives through that and through the Rialto Report episode, which of course is not on the disc, but I highly recommend as supplemental listening. In fact, I recommend you go ahead and listen to that regardless. uh, and there's a really good interview with Bud Lee too, which repeats a lot of the same information but is a lot more concise. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this release. I recommend it if you're a fan of this stuff. And then finally, maybe my favorite release of the three, I would say I like The Image better as a film, just a little bit, but this release is better because it's just so stacked with features. There's no booklet in this, but it does come with a poster. But this contains an excellent commentary with the director and I forget Casey Scott, I think. let me fact check myself real quick. Hell yeah, Casey Scott, indeed. I got it right. And there's also pretty lengthy interviews with Veronica Hart, Jamie Gillis, Eric Edwards, and the cinematographer C. Davis Smith. There's also about 40 minutes of outtakes with director's commentary, too. So this is like a surprisingly stacked release. Um, and I just really, really liked the audio commentary, especially. So this film, again, is fairly plotless. There's some kind of implied incest going on. Uh, I don't know. I really couldn't even give you a like standard plot synopsis. It's kind of just like artsy vignettes of these characters in various sexual situations. But there's some really cool trick photography in it. Again, it's clear that this was made by like a real filmmaker with um, artistic intentions, and it's basically an art film, just with a lot of sex in it. I think the lighting is really beautiful. Again, I really love the cinematography. I think this is just a gorgeous film to look at, and you don't have to. This would be, if you're a straight edge king slash queen slash royalty, I respect that a lot. But if you're a person who indulges in substances, this would be a really good one because you really don't have to pay attention to any plot such that it exists. You can just be enraptured in the vibes. Um, Something that Cecil Howard said in the commentary, because Casey Scott asked him, like, I've watched this film 3 times now and I'm still not sure what it's about. Do you have any insight on that? And he's like, good, that's on purpose. I'll never tell. He was like, people ask me, hey, man, what are your films about? And I never tell them because they always say they watched it 3 times. And I'm just like, well, if you knew what it was about, you would have only watched it once, right? So I guess this was his strategy to get repeat viewers and such things. But I think that's everything I have to say about it. Again, I see we're only at 12 minutes. I gotta hit my 15 minutes for the segment to make sense, right? But that's okay. Maybe this can be a briefer one. Um, these films in particular felt like they were fairly light on plot, and that doesn't lend itself well to me talking a lot about them, but they are just really gorgeous and beautiful to look at. Oh, my quick ratings for the Rippled Tales and for Tasty, I gave them both a 6 out of 10. And for Neon Nights, I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10 for this as well. But this is one that I'll certainly be purchasing down the line and be revisiting. Um, for the double feature, maybe if it was on a really good deal, I'd pick that one up. And also just because I love Hypatia Lee, but The Image and Neon Nights are certainly future pickups for me. So those are my recommendations. Those are my quick little analyses of these films. Enjoy, all you degenerate perverts and freaks, and I will see you next time. Hopefully in the middle of the month for 15 minutes with you. Bye.